We have a massive update. According to Shams of The Athletic, multiple teams are monitoring Julius Randle's situation in New York right now. It's already been understood that this offseason, the Knicks are looking to make a major trade happen. And according to multiple NBA insiders, if they're looking to do so, the easiest way to do that is to trade Julius Randle. We're going to break down these latest reports and so much more today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. Teams are monitoring Julius Randle's situation in New York. It hasn't even been a day since the Knicks season was just ended, but it didn't take long before reports started coming out that potentially teams are monitoring Julius Randle's situation in New York, and they're waiting to see what New York does with him. Are they going to make him available for a trade? Are they going to try to move on for him? Or are they going to stick with him? That's the main question heading into this offseason, given that the Knicks are looking to make a massive trade. And when you look to make a massive deal, you have to move contracts, you have to move players, and you have to have the picks available. The Knicks have all of that. And if you include Julius Randle into any one of those offseason trades, it likely gets that deal done. But let's first break down what Shams of The Athletic had to say about Randle and teams around the league monitoring him and his situation in New York. Roll it.
They're going to continue to be aggressive. They've got 8 first-round draft picks they can trade. Obviously, they have seconds. They have swaps. So they're looking for that next player if he is available, whenever that's going to be. There are a few issues, though, right? You have the OG Anunoby free agency that potentially looms. They got him in that big trade. They gave up a lot of assets for him, Emmanuel quickly, draft picks, etc. Will they be able to keep him? I think that's going to be their priority. But then 2 other players, Jalen Brunson, he's extension eligible. We'll see if it makes sense for him to extend now or wait till 2025. But Julius Randle, he's got a player option in 2025. He's eligible for a 4-year, $188 million contract extension this summer. Or I should say 4-year, $181.5 million contract extension. Either way, significant money. Teams are monitoring the situation for sure, because how they handle that extension situation, if that is a conversation, what transpires, I think that'll be interesting. Because you think about movable assets, salaries, obviously Julius Randle's got the number if you are to make a big trade.
Okay, here we go.
Shout out to Shams from The Athletic for giving us this major update about Julius Randle and what teams are monitoring his situation in New York for. It seems like everybody around the league are waiting for the Knicks to give Randle that extension or potentially not give him that extension, because either way they move, it's going to tell everybody around the league what they're going to do and potentially what their next move is. If the Knicks do not extend Randle, it potentially could mean they have no problem moving him. But something else I want to throw out there, Julius Randle a couple of weeks ago announced that he was joining CAA once again. We have to remember, initially when he started his basketball career, he was with CAA. And then a couple of years later, he left for WME Sports. And then not even to a year in that relationship with the new agency, he leaves for CAA once again. I'm not sure what happened with that situation, but for sure, I'm absolutely certain about one thing. The Knicks and Julius Randle have an extremely good bond right now and an extremely good relationship. Leon Rose, Tom Thibodeau, they love Randle and what he means to this team. And if you look around the league and you look at players that potentially could give you Randle-like numbers if you were to trade for them, you're talking about some of the superstars around the league. If we're talking about potential players you could get for Randle right now, if you package him with picks and other things like that, you're never going to be able to get the player you absolutely need back in that type of Randle deal. Because in my opinion, Julius Randle has played so well this season that if you're able to trade him, you need to net yourself back a superstar level player. Anything short of getting a player like that in a Randle trade, in my opinion, in my eyes, will be seen as a failure. And if I know Leon Rose and this Knicks front office, they will not make a move that's going to be seen as a failure. They're going to make sure that any move they make is well executed and well thought about. They're not going to make a move to make a move. They're not going to make a move to appease the fans. We already saw that. If that was the case, they would have thrown everything and anything at the Donovan Mitchell trade with Utah. But they didn't do that because they knew we are trying to build something important here, something that can last a very long time. We're talking about trying to get to the NBA Finals each and every year. This is the type of team and roster we have right now. All we need is to make one or two more moves, and then finally, we will have the roster that will be feared among the league for years to come. Maybe fully healthy, the Knicks already have that roster. But if you make the right additions and the right moves, nobody is going to want to see this Knicks team over the course of a 7-game series. We're talking about physicality that cannot be matched. We're talking about defensive pressure that cannot be matched. And then on offense, if we're fully healthy, you are not stopping Randle. You are not stopping Jalen Brunson. And for damn sure, you are not stopping OG Anunoby once he gets going. If we add another player to that core, maybe an all-star level player, I think that unit for the Knicks could go far, all the way. Maybe get to the NBA Finals multiple years. Maybe win some of them. Because once you get to the dance, who knows what happens once you're there. But you need a ticket there. And the only way to get it is to fight and work for it. The Knicks were this close to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, just like last year. And if we were fully healthy, we would have got there. Fully healthy means 3-time All-Star Julius Randle is there, available, and has no issues to deal with. If we had that player, we're not talking about anything else other than Eastern Conference Finals matchup with the Boston Celtics. I understand that the Knicks are going to make a massive trade this offseason, a mega trade, depending on who's available and what the assets are required to make that trade happen. But the Knicks have the picks, they have the players, and they have everything they need to make any trade happen. Though, I don't think they're going to trade Julius Randle. And the only reason I don't believe they're going to trade Randle is for two main reasons. Number one, he's injured, so his value goes down. And number two, you are never, ever going to be able to get the value back in a Randle trade. The Knicks are always going to lose in that trade because other teams are going to say, well, you know what? Randle's a good player, but he's never shown up in the playoffs. So because of that, I have to take that into account, and it's going to affect my offer for Randle. That's always going to be the case. So if I'm the Knicks, I'm not going to even risk it. I'm going to hold on to Randle. I'm going to hold on to some of these other key players, and I'm going to wait, and scour the market. Wait until the offseason to see which players become disgruntled. And then if any of those players are a player that I covet, see how much it would take to get that player on this team. That's exactly what I think Leon Rose and this Knicks front office is going to do, because each and every year, that's what they've done. They've been patient. But this year, they struck gold with getting OG Anunoby. And they did it without offering any first-round picks. Those picks are absolutely going to come in handy this offseason when the Knicks look to make that mega trade happen. I said it in one of my earlier videos, but the Knicks making the moves they did this season indicates to everybody who's watching that New York is trying to win now. With that mentality in mind, they absolutely are looking to make a move this offseason. And I'm not the only person who believes that. NBA insider Evan Cedarty stated the following: the Knicks internally consider this offseason the time to push their chips in for a star player via trade. This is coming from Fred Katz of The Athletic. New York, once again, owns all of their future picks and swaps, plus 4 additional first-round selections projected through 2027. The Knicks were the 2nd seed this year. We were hobbled and we grabbed the 2nd seed. We were hobbled going into the postseason, and we made it all the way to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Since that's the case, the Knicks will absolutely look to run it back with more or less the same roster, but with a few additions. Now, if they can add that all-star or superstar player, they absolutely will. But again, it all comes down to cost. But as you notice in that last slide, there was a question at the end of it, and it stated, who will the New York Knicks target to pair alongside Jalen Brunson? If you've been watching this channel, then you already know the answer to that question. For me, there are only 3 players I want the Knicks to go after at this point in time: Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, and Donovan Mitchell. You got to figure at least one of those players is going to become disgruntled this offseason. If that happens, the Knicks need to go all in for that player, because any one of those guys, if they join the Knicks, they will make the Knicks an absolute NBA Finals team each and every year for years to come. That means we're getting to the NBA Finals each and every year. That's because of the roster that we have put together after that major addition that we make, whether it's Donovan, Mikal, or Booker. But those are not the only names on the table. And unfortunately for me, one guy's name is on the list that I do not want the Knicks to go after. You want to take a guess at who he is? Paul George. According to Evan Cedardy, he states Paul George is an underrated target to potentially monitor for the Knicks. Last summer, New York was in serious contact with the Clippers leading up to the 2023 NBA draft. If George decided to go the opt-in and trade route, New York can create an almost identical salary match utilizing Julius Randle and Bojan Bogdanovic. George is also rep by CAA, the power agency that the Knicks president Leon Rose helped run. I want to make sure I say this extremely clear. I do not, repeat, I do not want Paul George on this team. There are a number of reasons why I don't, but let's take this season into account. Right now, Paul George on the Clippers, on paper, has a very good team around him, and they still cannot get the job done. They can still not win. You're telling me if he was on this Knicks team, given his age and what he can do on the basketball court, you believe in him? You think he can lead this Knicks team all the way to the promised land of the NBA Finals when he's never done that for the Clippers or any team he's been a part of? Come on, guys. Let's not do this. Paul George is not the target. He was not the target last year. I am so happy that trade did not go through. And he is not the target this year. And let's break this down for a second. Let's say even if he was the target this year, Julius Randle, do you think he would be utilized to facilitate a Paul George trade to the New York Knicks? Because last time I checked, those guys are friends. Wouldn't they want to play together? Wouldn't that be what the Knicks are trying to do? If that's the case, then it wouldn't make any sense for the Knicks to try to trade for Paul George and in the process, trade Randle, a guy that Paul George would likely want to play with. It just doesn't make sense. This whole CAA connection, I just have to address it really quick. I understand the Knicks absolutely go after CAA players and they treat them very well. But they don't only go after those players. We have players on this roster right now repped by different agencies. Maybe the Knicks sometimes show a little bit of favoritism to CAA clients, but that doesn't mean that they only go after them. The Knicks will go after everybody and anybody as long as that player can come to this team, contribute, and have a positive impact. And that's why I feel in good hands with Leon Rose and this Knicks front office, because each and every move they've done this season was to help the Knicks, to make us better. So I can only believe that this offseason, they're going to do the exact same thing. In my opinion, again, I do not believe that Randle gets traded. His value is lowered because he's injured, and also, he just rejoined CAA. He just came back to the family. I doubt he gets traded this season. Maybe he gets traded another time, maybe during the season of next year, or maybe he gets traded next offseason. But this year, this offseason, there is no way in my mind that I see Julius Randle being moved to a different team. If anything, I actually see this Knicks team running it back with more or less the same players, but making notable upgrades where they can, depending on who's available and their cost. Leon Rose is definitely going to do that, and he's definitely going to make sure this Knicks team looks better than ever before by making those impactful moves that we know he's going to make this offseason. I am just waiting for the offseason clock to strike so I can watch Leon Rose and this Knicks front office make magic happen right before our eyes, because we saw it happen this year, and this offseason, we're going to see it happen again. But what about you guys? What do you think about these recent reports from Shams indicating that teams around the league are monitoring Julius Randle and his situation in New York? That situation being whether the Knicks will give him a contract extension or not. Let me know in the comments below, guys, whether or not you want Julius Randle traded or kept on this team. Because honestly, guys, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.